Here are the two sizes that I'm making for the masks. The top is the adult size. It is 9 by 6, 9 inches across, 6 inches down. The kid size is 7.5 by 5. And you want to make sure that you're cutting, like if the selvage was here, you're cutting across. That way that the pattern, doesn't really matter about the pattern, but it's the weave of the material is in the right direction. So after you cut your masks, this is the adult size. I serged the top side of all of the pieces. And I did the same for the kids. Now, if you don't have a serger, you could just use a zigzag stitch. And the reason why I do that is because there's going to be an opening for the filter, and you don't want the frayed edging to come out and it to just basically fall apart after being washed over and over and over again. So the elastic that I'm using right now is a 1/4 inch braided flat elastic. I am cutting them into 7-inch pieces, and I have 2 different colors, which honestly it doesn't matter what color you put on the mask. So one of the things that I wanted to add, which wasn't in the pattern that I found, was adding a metal nose piece, which is really important because it keeps the mask really tight to your face, especially around your nose, which is good to keep everything out or keep everything in. So I was using, this is a 22 gauge piece of aluminum metal. I got it at Home Depot. It's originally 1 foot by 2 feet. This is a 4-inch strip. I cut it, and I was marking it every 1/8 inch and cutting it by hand, which was very hard and difficult. So I ordered flat wire. It's 18 gauge flat wire, and I will be using that going forward. I should get that sometime this week. But for now, I have this 18 gauge round wire. It's a crafting wire. I use this for my bridal accessories, but now they will be used for nose clamps, which I tested, and it's actually comfortable. So it's a great alternative if you can't get the flat wire or if you can't get the aluminum metal sheets. So these are 4 inches long, and I enclosed them in just this is satin ribbon. It doesn't really matter what ribbon. This is just something I had. This is 2 inches wide, but you can use 1.5 inches. You could probably even use 1 inch depending on how, I probably wouldn't use 1 inch. I would use 1.25 inches at the smallest. But anyway, I cut the strips. These are 5-inch long strips, so they're 1 inch longer. And then what I do is I sew the sides. I used my serger for these sides, but you don't, again, if you don't have a serger, you don't have to do that. You can just do a straight stitch or you can do a zigzag stitch. The most important thing is to just enclose the metal piece in here and give it an extra layer of protection, so that it doesn't hurt the mask wearer, and basically just stick one of your pieces inside. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. And then what I do is I just stitch right across, as close to the metal piece as possible. Just be careful that you give some leeway or you will break your needle. Right now I'm just going to show you how to enclose the metal piece in case you were wondering. The metal piece is on this side. I'm just lining it up with the edge of my footer, and I'm just going to stitch straight across. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to make sure that my wire piece stays all the way to the side, because I have broken a few needles doing this. And just tack the ends. And that's about it. Sorry. And it's enclosed. Okay, so after I enclosed the metal wire, I am going to measure to make sure that it is centered. Now this this piece of ribbon is not exactly 5 inches, which is fine. So I'm just going to make sure that I get it centered as much as possible on the wrong side of the mask. So this is the right side, this is the wrong side. So I'm going to stitch it like this to the wrong side. Okay, so right now I'm just going to show you what I do. So basically where you had already put the stitch in, you can follow that as your guideline. And you can just stitch that to the mask. Again, make sure that you keep pushing the middle wire over. I also like to line up that stitch line to the bottom of my serging. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. Okay, so after that part is done, now I can add the elastic, or I can pin the elastic to the mask. So front side to front side, just lay it over top. You take your elastic and you pin it at a 45-degree angle. And again, I'm sorry for this shaky video. I actually have it attached to my neck, my cell phone, so I apologize. So just try to get them as close to the corners as possible. And you want to make sure that when you are putting the elastic in, it's not twisted. So it won't be completely flat because you're curving it, but make sure that it is not twisted. Okay, sorry. Like I said, this camera is attached to my neck. Anyway, so you pin the elastic here and here and make sure it's flat. Then you're going to take this piece to your sewing machine and you are going to do either a 1/4 inch or 3/8. I've been doing a 1/4 inch of seam allowance. I start at the end of my ribbon and I go all the way around. Okay, so guys, after you sew, it's going to turn into this. Now this piece doesn't have the metal bar yet. I can add that later. I just ran out of supplies when I was making this and I will add it now. But anyway, so you can see that there's some back tacking in each corner and that I gave it about a 1/4 inch allowance. And so then you want to turn it inside out finally. Make sure that all the corners are out as much as possible to give it more of a rectangular shape. You can press your mask now just to make it flat if you want to. That way you can start pleating and it's flatter. Honestly, if you're trying to do these faster, I wouldn't say pleat it, or I wouldn't say press it. But if you have the time and you want to, you can press it now. And then you go into pleating. So, so that you don't get dizzy, I'm holding this in my hand now. I start my pleats out 1 inch down. And I do 1/2 inch pleats all the way down. And I try to mimic it and make it even on both sides. So this is what it looks like without pleats right here. And this is what it looks like with pleats. Now this is ready to get stitched all the way around, but I'm going to show you on another piece that actually has the middle in it. Okay, so I'm going to start showing you how I actually stitched the mask with the pleats and the metal bar inside, keeping the pocket open. I start with the back and I just do a seam across this edge so that when it's washed it doesn't come out and get impressed and all that stuff. And instead of cutting it, I keep it like that. It saves time. I just bring it back just slightly. And then I start to go around the edge. So one thing that's really important to remember is that you want to make sure that these pleats don't come undone, because it's really important that the face mask is tight to the face. And these are going to be washed over and over again. So I always go back and forth a few times just to add some extra strength. And then I just run along the bottom. I also try to reinforce the sides where the elastic goes in. Now, I try to keep the stitches in the same ditch, stitch in the ditch, as they say, but aesthetics really doesn't matter. It's more functionality right now. And then because the metal bar is here, I'm just taking a note where to stop, because I've already broken too many needles. So I just kind of measure it with my finger and backtrack. And I am done this one mask. So the thread's here. I just give a little snip. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then because I never took it up over here, I don't have to snip anything there. And so this is the final mask. The stitching isn't 100% perfect, as if it was something that I would be sewing for a customer, but it's functional, it's sturdy, and that is what matters. This is the final mask, and basically the front side is going to have the metal bar, and it bends, as you can see, and it will hold its shape around your nose. And you can insert your filter here, and yeah, this is what it looks like. And just the most important thing about making these masks, it's not about aesthetics, it's about functionality. The closest you can get it to the face, the more secure it's going to be for the person. So if you can add the metal bar, I really, really, really think you should. All right, happy sewing.